was a cold, lonely night in the small town of Ridgeview. The streets were empty, and the sound of the wind was the only thing alive. Inside a small wooden house on the edge of town, Ethan Cole sat by the fire, sipping his last cup of coffee. He was used to silence, he liked it. After years in the army, quiet nights felt like peace. But that night, peace didn't last long. At exactly midnight, 3 slow knocks echoed on his door. Knock, 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 Ethan frowned. No one ever came to his house this late. He put down his cup, grabbed his flashlight, and walked toward the door. The sound came again, softer this time, almost like someone or something was waiting. When he opened the door, his breath caught. A dog stood there. Its fur was wet, its body trembling from the cold. Water dripped from its paws onto the porch. It looked lost, scared. But there was something wrong. Its eyes glowed faint blue in the dark. Not from the light, not from reflection, they glowed on their own. Ethan froze. For a second, he thought it might be a trick of the flashlight, but then the glow pulsed softly. Like a heartbeat, the dog stared at him without blinking. He whispered, "Where did you come from, boy?" The dog didn't bark. It just tilted its head, shivering, staring up at him with those bright, unnatural eyes. Ethan's soldier instincts told him to close the door. But something else, something deep inside, told him to help. He stepped aside and said quietly, "Come in." The dog walked past him, dripping water on the floor. Ethan grabbed an old towel and dried it off. The dog didn't resist. It just sat near the fire, staring at the flames like it remembered them from long ago. He placed a bowl of leftover stew in front of it. The dog sniffed it once, then began to eat. But as it did, every electronic device in the house flickered. The lights blinked. The radio turned on by itself. The old wall clock stopped ticking. Ethan frowned. "That's not normal." The dog kept eating calmly as if nothing was wrong. When it finished, it lay down and rested its head on its paws. Ethan sat down too, rubbing his temples. Maybe he was tired. Maybe the storm outside was messing with the power. Then he noticed something shining around the dog's neck. A collar made of strange black metal, glowing faintly blue, the same color as its eyes. He reached out carefully and touched it. The moment his fingers brushed the metal, a pulse of energy shot through his arm. His whole body stiffened. He felt warmth, light, and strange shapes flashing through his mind like stars, like machines, like a battle. He pulled his hand back, gasping. "What the hell was that?" The dog slowly lifted its head and looked at him. For the first time, Ethan felt fear. The animal's eyes glowed brighter, too bright. Then in a quiet, broken voice it spoke, not a bark, not a growl. Words helped them. Ethan's heart almost stopped. He stumbled backward, knocking over the chair. You can talk?" he whispered, but the dog said nothing more. It just stared, breathing slowly, eyes fading back to soft blue. Before Ethan could do anything, the power in the house died completely. Lights out. Silence. He stood there in total darkness, listening to the wind howling outside and the faint sound of the dog's breathing. Then came a low rumble, distant thunder. Or maybe not thunder. It sounded heavier, deeper, like engines high in the sky. Ethan walked to the window. Far above the town, a flash of blue light crossed the clouds, quick and silent. He felt the ground shake under his feet. He looked down at the dog. It was standing again, staring at the window. Its fur stood up, ears raised as if it knew something terrible was coming. Ethan whispered, "What's happening?" The dog's eyes glowed brighter again. It looked back at him, and for a second Ethan thought he saw something inside them. A reflection of war. Ships, fire, darkness. A world not his own. Then it blinked and the images were gone. Outside, another flash lit the sky. This time Ethan saw it clearly. A burning object falling through the clouds, trailing fire and blue sparks. It wasn't a plane. It was too big, too fast, too silent. The dog growled softly, then took a step toward the door. It barked once, sharp, urgent, as if telling him to follow. Ethan hesitated. His mind screamed that none of this made sense. But his gut said something else. This was only the beginning. He grabbed his jacket and a flashlight. The dog was already waiting by the door, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. When he opened the door, cold wind rushed in. The strange object in the sky had vanished, but a faint blue trail still glimmered on the horizon. The dog took off down the road. Ethan followed. Behind them, his house flickered one last time with light, then went completely black. As they disappeared into the night, the air carried a low hum, like a whisper only the stars could hear. Something had arrived, and it wasn't from Earth. The night was colder than before. Ethan Cole ran through the dark streets, his flashlight bouncing across the road, following the strange glowing dog that had appeared at his door only minutes ago. The animal moved fast, almost too fast for any normal dog. Its paws barely made a sound on the wet road. Ethan's breath came in short gasps. His heart pounded not only from running but from fear. The kind that crawls under your skin when you know something is wrong but can't explain it. "Wait," he shouted. "Slow down." The dog didn't stop. Its blue eyes shone like twin lanterns in the dark. Finally, it reached the edge of town, where the forest began. Ethan stopped. The trees looked like black giants, their branches swaying in the cold wind. No one ever went there at night. People said the forest was haunted, but the dog didn't hesitate. It turned once, looked at Ethan as if to say, "Follow," then ran inside. Ethan cursed under his breath, but his curiosity was stronger than fear. He switched the flashlight to full beam and stepped into the woods. The forest was silent except for the sound of his footsteps. The beam of light cut through the fog, showing the path ahead. Suddenly, the flashlight blinked, once, twice, then went dark. "Not again," Ethan muttered. He hit the flashlight, trying to bring it back to life, but it was dead. Then he noticed something strange. There was still light, faint, blue, pulsing softly on the ground. He knelt and saw symbols glowing in the dirt, lines, circles, and dots connected together like a map. They weren't drawn by hand. They looked burned into the ground. The dog stood nearby, staring up at the sky. Ethan followed its gaze and froze. Above the trees, faint blue streaks crossed the clouds, silent, moving like shooting stars but slower, more controlled. It was as if something was writing in the sky. What is that?" Ethan whispered. He pulled out his phone and tried to take a picture, but the signal was gone. The screen glitched, then shut down completely. The dog began to howl, long and deep. The sound echoed through the forest, rolling like thunder. And then, from far away, a strange noise answered. It wasn't a howl. It wasn't human either. It sounded mechanical, like a machine crying out in pain. Ethan turned toward the direction of the sound and saw it. A faint glow through the trees, the same color as the dog's eyes. He started walking toward it. Branches snapped under his feet. The closer he got, the stronger the smell of burned metal became. The forest thinned and he stepped into a clearing. At the center was a crater, huge and deep, filled with smoke and glowing debris. Pieces of strange metal were scattered everywhere, smooth, silver, and covered with unknown markings. Ethan whispered, "That's a crash." He moved closer, waving the smoke away. The ground was warm. Inside the crater, half buried, was something that looked like a ship. Small, round, and broken open like an egg. Sparks flickered from inside. The dog barked loudly and ran to the edge of the crater, whining as it looked down. "Is this where you came from?" Ethan asked softly. The dog didn't answer, but it barked again, urgent, sharp, and then jumped into the crater. Ethan shouted, "Wait! Don't!" But it was too late. He climbed down after it, sliding on the dirt. When he reached the bottom, the heat made him sweat. The air buzzed like static, and then he saw it. Not far from the dog lay a figure, not human. It was thin, pale, with faintly glowing skin. Its body was covered in a strange metallic suit, torn and burned. Its chest moved weakly, like it was still breathing. The dog ran to it, licking its hand and whining softly. The creature's fingers twitched. Ethan froze. His mind couldn't believe what his eyes were seeing. An alien, dying right in front of him. The dog looked at Ethan, then at the creature again, as if begging him to help. He stepped closer, kneeling beside the body. The alien's face was smooth, almost human, but its eyes were closed. Ethan placed his hand near its neck. It had a faint pulse, weak but alive. "Hang in there," he whispered. "I've got you." As soon as he touched the alien, a surge of blue light flashed between them. Ethan felt a voice, not through his ears but inside his head. "You helped my companion. Help me now." He gasped and pulled his hand back. "You can speak?" he whispered. The alien didn't move, but the voice continued, soft and broken. "They are coming, hide." "Who's coming?" Ethan asked, looking around. The answer came not from the alien, but from above. A loud hum filled the air. The ground shook. Bright lights appeared through the trees. Helicopters. Ethan ducked behind a piece of wreckage as spotlights swept across the crater. He heard shouting, human voices this time. Secure the area. Bring in the containment unit. Anything alive is priority 1. He peeked over the metal edge and saw men in black suits and helmets moving down ropes. They carried strange weapons, not normal rifles, more advanced, glowing faintly at the barrel. One of them, P. Forest was burning behind them. Flames licked the trees. Smoke twisted into the cold night sky and the roar of helicopters faded into the distance. Ethan Cole ran through the darkness with the glowing orb tight in his arms, the strange dog racing beside him. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he didn't stop. Branches cut his face. His boots sank into the mud, but he kept running. Every time he slowed, the dog looked back and barked, sharp, urgent, pushing him forward. Finally, when they reached a wide river, Ethan dropped to his knees. He splashed cold water on his face and tried to breathe. What just happened? He whispered. The dog stood silently on the riverbank watching him. Its blue eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting the light from the orb Ethan held. He looked down at the small metal sphere in his hands. It pulsed softly, almost like it was alive, as if it had a heartbeat. It felt warm, comforting even, though it had nearly gotten him killed. Ethan turned it over and saw faint lines moving across its surface, forming strange symbols he didn't understand. "What are you?" he murmured. The orb flashed once, bright enough to make him blink. Then for a moment he heard a whisper in his mind. Not words, but a feeling. Trust. He looked at the dog. "You know what this is, don't you?" The animal gave a small bark, then walked toward the trees again, looking back as if to say, "Follow me." Ethan hesitated. "No, I need answers first. What was that thing back there? Who were those soldiers?" The dog barked again, louder this time, then walked away, disappearing into the shadows. Ethan sighed, pushed himself up, and followed. They walked for nearly an hour through the forest until they reached a wide opening, a cave hidden by fallen trees and thick roots. The dog stopped at the entrance and waited. Ethan looked inside. It was dark and smelled of damp earth. He took a deep breath and entered. Inside, faint blue light shimmered on the walls. It came from symbols, the same kind that had glowed in the dirt earlier. They seemed to move slowly, like living veins of light. At the center of the cave lay a familiar shape, the alien he had seen in the crater. But now it was wrapped in some kind of silver web, floating just above the ground. The web pulsed like a heartbeat, keeping the creature alive. Ethan froze. "How? You were—" He couldn't finish the sentence. The alien's eyes opened. Silver light glimmered in them, calm and sad. A voice filled Ethan's head again, soft and echoing. "You came back." Ethan nodded, though his voice trembled. "I thought you were dead. I was close. But my guardian brought me here." Ethan looked at the dog. "Guardian?" The alien's eyes followed the animal. "It is not a dog. Its true name is Vera. It was created to protect and guide. It led you to me." Ethan stared at Vera, the dog. "Created? By you?" The alien nodded slowly. "By my kind. We use them to find those who will help." Ethan blinked. "You mean, you sent it to me?" "It chose you," the alien said simply. "Because you still have compassion." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "Compassion? You mean because I helped?" "Yes, many would have closed the door. You opened it." He looked away. He wasn't sure what to feel. Fear, confusion, or pride. Finally, he asked, "Who are you?" The alien's voice grew weaker, distant. "My name does not translate. But you may call me Aaron. My people came from far beyond your stars. We were not here for war." Ethan frowned. "Then why did your ship crash?" Aaron's silver eyes dimmed. "Because of your own kind." "What?" "Your military shot us down. They detected our signal and feared what they did not understand." Ethan's stomach dropped. He thought of the soldiers, the helicopters, the weapons. "So they knew?" "They knew," Aaron said. "They took our technology. They studied it. They tried to use it. But what they call power will destroy them." Ethan remembered the orb in his hands. "You mean this?" The alien looked at it. "Yes, that is the seed. It can rebuild life or end it. It depends on the heart of the one who holds it." Ethan stared at the glowing orb, speechless. It pulsed gently, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. "Why give it to me?" "Because they will come again," Aaron whispered. "And when they do, you must decide what kind of human you are." Ethan didn't understand, but before he could ask more, Vera barked once, a deep warning sound. The alien turned its head slightly. "They have found us." Ethan's blood ran cold. "The soldiers?" "Yes, they track the seed's energy. You must run. But what about you? I will not survive without the seed. But if they take it, your world will burn." Ethan shook his head. "No, I can't just leave you here." The alien's light dimmed. "You must. Save the seed. Save your people." "That is enough," Vera barked again, louder this time. The sound of helicopters echoed faintly outside the cave. Ethan clenched his fists. "I'm not leaving you to die." The alien looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. A strange, gentle expression. Humans, always so stubborn. The silver web around Aaron glowed brighter. Ethan could feel heat rising in the air. "Take the seed," Aaron said. "And listen, 'cause if the seed glows red, it is too late." "What happens if it glows red?" Ethan shouted, but the alien's voice faded. "Run." Ethan grabbed the seed, shoved it inside his jacket, and turned toward the cave entrance. Vera was already there, growling at the sound of engines outside. He peeked out and saw black vehicles approaching through the forest. Soldiers poured out, scanning the area with blue sensors. They were close, too close. Ethan looked back one last time. The alien was gone. Only light remained, floating in the air like mist. He whispered, "I'll come back for you." Then he ran. The night exploded around him as gunfire echoed through the trees. Bullets tore into the dirt beside him. He jumped over roots, ducked behind rocks, and followed Vera into the darkness. When they reached a narrow valley, Ethan tripped and fell hard, rolling down a slope. The seed flew from his jacket and landed in the mud. He crawled to grab it again, but as he touched it, he saw it flicker. Not blue. Not white. For a split second, it glowed red. Ethan froze. "No, what does that mean?" The dog barked, tugging at his sleeve. Helicopter lights swept over the valley. He picked up the seed and ran again, his heart pounding louder than the engines above. Somewhere behind him, a bright explosion lit the forest, the cave collapsing in a burst of blue light. The soldiers screamed over their radios. Ethan didn't look back. He couldn't. Whatever had happened back there, it was only the beginning of something much bigger. And as the night swallowed him and the glowing dog, one thought burned in his mind. If this was real, then the world was in danger. The night after the attack, Ethan didn't sleep. He sat on the floor beside the glowing dog, who was breathing weakly. Its blue light had faded to a dim flicker. He had tried everything, bandages, blankets, even gentle words, but nothing worked. When morning came, a strange sound broke the silence. A deep, low hum rolled through the sky, shaking the windows. Ethan rushed outside. Clouds spun in circles above the town. The center of the storm glowed with the same blue light as the dog's eyes. Ethan's heart raced. "It's them," he whispered. The dog lifted its head, trembling. Through its weak voice, it spoke again. "They heard me." Then it went still. Ethan's chest tightened. "No, stay with me," he shouted, shaking the dog's body, but the blue light in its eyes went out. A sharp tone suddenly echoed from the dog's collar, a digital beep followed by a flash of light. A small metal piece detached from the collar and floated in the air, spinning faster and faster. Ethan backed away, shielding his eyes as the object expanded into a holographic image. A face appeared. Not human, it was tall, pale, and glowing faintly. Its eyes were soft but filled with sadness. "Human," the figure said in a calm voice. "You have our gratitude. You have cared for one of ours." Ethan's mouth went dry. "Yours, you mean this dog?" The figure nodded. "It is not a dog. It is a messenger, created to find someone kind enough to listen." The word sent chills down Ethan's spine. "Listen to what?" The being's face darkened. "To a warning. A storm is coming, not from the sky, but from beneath your world." Before Ethan could respond, the ground rumbled. Birds flew from the trees. Across the horizon, strange lights blinked, red and sharp like the eyes of machines waking up. The figure continued, voice trembling now. "They were our enemies, the ones who destroyed our world. They followed the messenger here." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked down at the silent dog, no, the messenger, and then up at the image. What do I do? You must awaken the beacon, the figure said. It lies beneath your town. We hid it long ago before your species learned to look up. The hologram flickered. Find it before they do. Then the image vanished, leaving the small metal piece clattering to the floor. The hum in the sky stopped. Everything fell quiet. Ethan looked around his small house. His computer, his phone. Everything started flashing again, lines of strange symbols running across the screens. He didn't understand the language, but one phrase kept repeating, "Location compromised." Panic filled him. He grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. The streets were empty, but strange shadows moved between houses. Machines walking like animals, their metal bodies reflecting the morning light. They were searching. Ethan ran toward the forest, holding the small device from the collar. His breath turned to mist in the cold air. He had no idea where to go, but something inside him guided his steps. A pull, like a voice in his head whispering, "This way." As he reached the edge of the woods, the ground shook violently. Behind him, the machines turned their glowing eyes toward him and started to move. Ethan sped. The forest burned with blue light. The ground trembled under Ethan's feet as the beacon rose higher from the earth. Metal plates unfolded like the petals of a giant flower. Strange glowing lines ran across its surface, pulsing with rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Ethan stood frozen, clutching the small device in his hand. The cold morning air felt heavy, filled with static and whispers. He could hear voices, not clear words but echoes, as if the air itself was remembering something old. Then he heard movement. Metal footsteps. The machines had followed him. Their red eyes glowed through the smoke as they stepped out of the shadows. Long, sharp limbs gleamed in the light of the beacon. One of them pointed its arm forward, and a beam of light shot past Ethan, burning the ground. Ethan dove behind a rock, his heart hammering. He was unarmed. "No, no, no," he muttered, panic rushing through his veins. Then the device in his hand flashed again. A voice spoke, calm and familiar. "Ethan Cole, the beacon has recognized you." He looked at it, shaking. "Recognized me? What does that mean?" "The messenger chose you," the voice said. "Only you can activate its defense." Before Ethan could ask how, the device sent a shock through his arm. Blue light wrapped around his wrist, forming a thin band of energy. He gasped as alien symbols glowed across his skin. The pain faded, replaced by a strange sense of power, a connection. "Place your hand on the beacon," the voice instructed. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then ran toward the rising platform. Beams of red light flew past him, cutting through trees, but he didn't stop. He pressed his glowing hand against the metal. The beacon roared to life. The ground exploded with energy. A wall of blue force surged outward, slamming into the attacking machines. They were thrown into the air like toys, their bodies twisting and sparking before falling silent. Ethan fell to his knees, stunned. The light around him shimmered, and for a moment, he saw shapes moving inside the glow. Ghostly figures, tall and elegant, like the alien who spoke to him before. One of them stepped forward, its voice echoing softly. "You have awakened what we hid, Ethan Cole. The beacon is the last remnant of our world, and now it is part of yours." Ethan looked up, eyes wide. "What are you saying? What do you want from me?" The figure's expression was sorrowful. "To survive. And to prepare." The light flickered, and the figures began to fade. "They will come for the beacon," the voice said. "Protect it until we return." Then everything went silent again. Ethan sat there, breathing hard. Around him, the forest was scorched, but calm. The machines were gone or destroyed. For now, he looked at his wrist. The blue band of light still glowed faintly, connected somehow to the beacon behind him. He whispered to himself, "What have I done?" But before he could think further, a loud thump echoed from above. Ethan looked up, squinting. A shape was descending through the clouds, a massive craft, dark and angular, blocking out the morning sun. It wasn't like the machines. It was bigger, alive in some way, its surface shifting like liquid metal. Ethan backed away, fear clawing at him. No, no more. The ship hovered over the forest, silent, watching. Then a beam of light scanned the area, locking onto the beacon. The voice in Ethan's wrist spoke again. "Hostile origin detected. Unknown class. Prepare for impact." "Impact?" Ethan shouted. "What do you mean?" The ground shook violently as the ship fired. A blast of energy struck the beacon's edge, sending a shockwave through the forest. Trees exploded. Rocks shattered. Ethan was thrown backward into the dirt. He groaned, trying to stand, his ears ringing. Smoke and dust filled the air. The beacon's blue light dimmed, flickering weakly. Through the haze, he saw the ship's doors open and dark shapes began to descend. Not machines this time. Something worse. They were tall, with twisted armor and burning eyes, creatures made of both flesh and metal. Their steps left deep prints in the soil. Ethan ducked behind a broken tree. His mind raced. He couldn't fight them. He needed help, but who? Then from somewhere deep below the ground, a low hum answered. The beacon began to pulse again, slow, steady, alive. The blue light spread across the ground, crawling like veins. It reached the dead messenger's body nearby, and then something unbelievable happened. The dog's eyes flickered open. Ethan froze. The creature, his strange friend, stood up, glowing brighter than before. Its wounds closed in seconds, its body shimmering with blue energy. The voice returned through the light. "You are not alone, Ethan Cole. The messenger will guide you." The dog turned its glowing eyes toward the sky, growling softly as the alien soldiers drew closer. Ethan stood beside it, trembling but ready. "If they want the beacon," he said, "they'll have to go through us." Above them, the enemy ship charged another weapon, lightning crackling across its hull. The ground split open once more, light bursting upward. The war had begun. The sky burned with red fire. The alien ship hovered low over the forest, its engines rumbling like thunder. Ethan could feel the heat on his face. The ground shook with every pulse from its weapons. The beacon's blue light flickered weakly as if struggling to stay alive. Beside him, the glowing dog stood tall, its fur rippling with light. The hum of energy around it was stronger now, alive and wild. It looked at Ethan, eyes bright with determination. "Messenger," Ethan whispered, "what do we do?" The dog's voice was calm, but its tone carried power. "Protect the beacon. The light must not go out. If it dies, so will Earth." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we fight." The first wave of enemies landed. Tall creatures wrapped in dark armor, their bodies a mix of metal and flesh. Their red eyes burned as they marched through the smoke. They carried weapons that hummed like storms, firing bolts of energy that tore through trees. Ethan ran for cover, diving behind a fallen trunk. The messenger leaped forward, moving faster than the eye could follow. Blue light exploded from its body, cutting through the soldiers like lightning. Each time it struck, the forest lit up with sparks, but there were too many. Ethan grabbed a broken metal rod from the ground. It wasn't much, but it was something. He charged toward one of the fallen soldiers, grabbed its weapon, and turned it on the others. The gun felt heavy and strange in his hands, but when he pulled the trigger, a beam of blue energy blasted forward. He shouted, voice full of adrenaline, "Come on!" The fight raged across the clearing. Explosions tore the ground apart. Smoke filled the air. The beacon pulsed brighter, reacting to the chaos, its light spreading wider, faster, until the entire forest glowed like a star. The alien ship shifted above, focusing its cannons on the beacon. Ethan looked up and realized what was about to happen. "They're going to destroy it," he yelled. The messenger's voice echoed in his mind. "Then stop them. You have the bond now." Ethan looked down at his wrist. The glowing band pulsed faster, responding to his heartbeat. "The bond," he whispered. "You mean I can control the beacon?" "Yes," the messenger said. "You are the chosen link. The beacon listens to you now." He didn't understand how, but he didn't have time to think. He ran to the beacon's center, placing both hands on the glowing surface. Instantly, the world around him vanished into blue light. He saw stars, galaxies, a sea of memories that weren't his. Cities made of light floating in the void. Voices of ancient beings whispered through him, pleading, guiding, remembering. "You carry our last hope, human. Our creation will live again through your hands." Energy rushed into his body. He screamed as power surged through his veins, blue lightning flashing around him. The alien ship fired again, but this time, the beam stopped in midair. The light from the beacon had formed a shield. The ship's weapon melted against it like wax against fire. The alien soldiers froze, backing away in confusion. The messenger barked, a deep echoing sound that rippled through the forest. The air itself seemed to answer. From the trees, shapes began to emerge. Animals, birds, even insects, all glowing faint blue. The beacon had awakened life itself. Ethan stepped forward, his eyes glowing like the messenger's. His voice carried through the air, steady and strong. "You came to destroy, But this world fights back. He raised his hand. The ground erupted. Roots and light shot upward, wrapping around the alien soldiers, pulling them into the earth. The ship tried to rise, engines roaring, but the beacon sent a pulse through the sky that cracked its hull like glass. The massive vessel groaned, twisted, and then exploded in a storm of fire and blue light. The blast lit up the horizon. When the noise faded, silence returned. The air smelled of smoke and rain. Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted. The glowing band on his wrist dimmed, fading to nothing. The messenger limped toward him, its light now gentle and calm. "You did it," the dog said softly. Ethan smiled weakly. "We did it." The beacon behind them hummed quietly, no longer wild or violent, just alive. Its light had turned warm, peaceful, as if the forest itself was breathing again. The messenger looked up at the sky, where the stars had begun to appear. "They will come again one day," it said. "But now your world is ready." Ethan nodded slowly. "And you? What happens to you?" The messenger looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. "My purpose is complete, but I will always be part of the light you carry." Its body shimmered, turning into pure blue energy that flowed into the beacon. The forest brightened for a moment, and then went still. Ethan sat alone beside the glowing monument, tears in his eyes. The night was quiet again, but he knew nothing would ever be the same. He looked up at the stars, whispering, "If anyone's out